Okay, so I'll go ahead and get started. So, oops, can you all see my screen? Okay, so thank you everyone for joining today, and thank you for interested in the ARO Scholar program. So just give a quick introduction about this program. So the program initiated back in 2021 when Ruth Lotovsky was still the president at ARO, and it launched for the first time in 2023 by the ARO Diversity and Minority Affairs Committee. The goal of this program is to support underrepresented undergrad students that are interested in the fields of otolaryngology, audiology, hearing balance and science, and as well as auditory neuroscience, to attend the ARO midwinter meeting, and with the goal to increase the retention of these undergraduate students in the field. So when we launched it for the first time in 2023, we had over 30 applicants and four scholars were awarded. Each one of those scholars, they received $2,500 to attend the ARO midwinter. And this year, we're launching the program again, and we're going to expand this program. And the goal of this year is to provide the same stipend to attend the 2025 ARO midwinter meeting, which will be in Florida. But we're also adding another $2,500 to support those undergraduate students to perform summer research with a mentor that's in the field, in the auditory field in general. So the applications are open, and the deadline, it's going to be in November 1st. So the goal of this coffee hour today is to be like an open space for everyone to ask questions, whatever questions you have about the program and how to apply for this program. And to help us to answer these questions, we have two former scholars from last year. So we have Daniela Matute and Elisa Pereira, as well as one former mentor. So let me get your name right here. Tajib Kaur. Did I say that right? Tajib Kaur. So we have a former mentor and two former scholars that are going to help us to answer any questions that you might have. And I'm Marina, by the way. I realized I forgot to introduce myself. Okay.
Hi, everybody. I had a question. I have an undergraduate that we've been working with that I think would be great for this program, but we had her apply for a travel award. If she's going to apply for this, is this a separate application? I was confused about that.
Yeah, those are separate applications. I can start answering if anyone wants to complement. Those are separate applications. So the travel award is one application, and the ARO Scholar is going to be a different application. Okay. So she would have to apply for that again. So those are different programs.
Okay, great. So, but she couldn't get both. So like, I mean, obviously we would prefer her to get the scholars program instead of a travel award. So do we withdraw her travel award application? I mean, yeah, I'm just kind of confused. I didn't realize they were separate applications.
So when we talk about it, we had the same question that was raised in our committee when we were talking about both the awards. And in the case that they are awarded both the travel award as well as the ARO scholars, they would have to pick which one they would keep with. So if someone from the committee wants to comment on that, but that's like something that we talk about in the ARO meeting. So they'll have to pick which one to go, but definitely apply for both. So have more chances to.
Right, of course. Great. Thank you so much.
I just wanted to say if anyone would rather put their question in the chat, if you don't feel comfortable unmuting, then we can read those to the committee. Otherwise, if you just want to unmute, then that's fine. If you have any questions. While we're getting started here, I was hoping maybe both the former scholars and Tejbir could maybe comment on their experience applying for the program and how it was to attend. I hope you were able to attend the meeting with your travel award, and maybe you can just talk for just a couple minutes about your experience with the program. Tejbir, could you start?
Oh, I'm the first one. So again, speaking from a mentor perspective here. The initiation was primarily from Alyssa, who's actually here, the one of the awardees. My job was actually to sort of advertise to all the lab members and the undergrads who I felt like were eligible to apply for the scholars program, and that's what I did. I started little early, as soon as I was learning about the program from the committee, from my other colleagues, and just let the trainees know, make them aware about the deadlines, the due days, when do I expect to see the letters from them, what are they expecting from me in terms of a letter of support or letter of recommendation, what's the timeline, the basic stuff, and proper guidelines if the applicants can provide the guidelines to the mentors, what they want specific for the ARO Scholars Program. It will really help the mentors to tailor the letter according to the expectations of the award. So I actually did that, and I asked Alyssa for 2 weeks notice. That's all. So, we just worked together on this. So my job was only to provide the letter, but and of course, as from a mentor perspective, if we have mentors in today's audience, obviously you want to highlight the strengths of the applicant who's applying from your lab. And how the applicant fits for the program, discussing the strengths, also the weaknesses, underrepresentative perspective of the award, which is sort of like the highlight we have for this Diversity Minority Award Committee ARO Scholar Program. So, all those things to, emphasize on the eligibility, emphasize why the applicant should or is a promising applicant for the award, what he and she has done differently in the lab, why he or she did, the curiosity and the motivation for doing research in auditory neuroscience. So those things, that was sort of my experience with one person so far. We'll see if I am able to continue to do that in the lab.
Yeah, thank you, Tashbir. Maybe as a follow-up, Alyssa could tell us about her experience. If you don't mind, Alyssa, would you like to give us a few of your experiences? Tell us a little bit about how it was for you to apply for this award, and maybe about your experience at the ARO Midwinter meeting.
Yeah, first, I think it's super helpful to apply to opportunities like this for multiple reasons. Obviously, I'm so grateful that I was able to receive it, but I think learning how to write about yourself and about the science that you've conducted is such an important skill, and one that I definitely developed through this. It also definitely was helpful when it came to applications for PhD programs, because again, it is a skill and it is something that you have to practice. And so that was just helpful overall for that. And as for the ARO conference itself, I think it was amazing. I loved being able to see work done from other students and also network with different potential mentors for next steps, and also seeing how other people's work could help improve my own when it came to also getting questions. And so I think it's a great opportunity to learn more about science, as well as learn how to network and have that opportunity. So yeah.
I can go next to talk about my experience. So, in terms of the application process, well, let me just introduce myself a little better. I'm in my senior year at the University of Rochester, and I'm majoring in chemical engineering, but I'm on the pre-med track. And so my goal is to be a clinician scientist, and so to keep working on research through my medical career. And so that's I worked at the Carney Lab here at the U of R. And so through that work of auditory neuroscience, we were working on like, you know, a new like study. And so we wanted to go to the ARO midwinter meeting. And so my mentor actually reached out to me and was like, you know, this program is new, like you should look into it, apply, like I could support you through it. And I was like, oh, like, you know, it sounds good. So that's why I decided to apply. The application process itself is very like straightforward. Like the guidelines are clear, the deadlines are clear. So we're able to work through that pretty easily in a way. One thing, as Alyssa was saying, is that that skill of writing about yourself is, you know, I was able to practice it for sure and develop it more through this application process, and it's gonna come very helpful through my med school application process, so that's gonna be really good. And in terms of the meeting itself, it was my first conference that I attended, and it was really cool to see all the different posters. And we also got tons of good feedback and like from the questions that people that came to see our poster I was presenting with a fellow student. The questions they gave us, the suggestions they gave us, we were able to kind of tailor where we were going to with our experiments. So yeah, it was a really rewarding experience. I think I learned a lot throughout the weekend. And yeah, I'm just really thankful that I got the opportunity to go with this award.
I just want to add again from a mentor perspective here. So we as mentors who are also part of ARO community will be the ones who will receive these emails about this program, launching of the program. So I think our primary job here is to inform and share this information with the eligible trainees in the lab. The early, the better. Like, for example, if you have an undergrad trainee who is in the first year, second year, I think we are looking for those applicants more than ones that are in the senior year or who has already, got into a PhD program. So we want to track those. If let's say that trainee gets the award, we want to track the progress of those trainees to see how they are developing the research in the auditory and vestibular field, and whether they are able to get into a PhD program related to auditory neuroscience and vestibular neuroscience. So I think this will also help to track the awardees because we want to have a sustainable program. And if an applicant is successful or an awardee is successful with the program the first time, and let's say the research project that they were working on is exciting, and they can reapply for the next year as well. So that's why mentors are encouraged to I would say promote those trainees who are in their beginning years of undergrad training, and if they've joined your lab as a sophomore, first year, and sophomores.
I have a follow-up question regarding what Tejbir said here. So what are the key points? Because these researchers are like just entry-level researchers, and what are the key points other than the research that committee looks for to make them like make their application which stands out and which do not? Like what are the screening criteria?
I guess I have something related to that as well, and also I'd like to make a clarification about the eligibility of the scholars. And currently, our program is only sponsored undergraduate students, as you can see, and we're not have the bandwidth to sponsor the graduate students or the medical students. And those inquiries has been raised last year, and whether the medical students or graduate students can apply for this scholarship. And unfortunately, right now we can only sponsor the undergraduate students. So just keep that in mind. And then we realize the undergraduate students, and they may have a limited exposure to the research, right? So the research experience it's not the driving criteria for us to review the application. And then we're looking more about your long-term goals in the auditory research field, whether you will pursue the graduate school after the undergraduate studies, things like that. That's the focus and what's driving you to be interested in studying auditory research. Those will be reviewed in your statement. So
Thank you, Jeff.
yeah. But we do have the plan to actually expand the program in the future to also sponsor the graduate and particularly medical students. I know lots of medical students are actually are interested in this program, and they wanted to be more involved in the research, right, as a medical students, and they wanted to be a physician scientist in the future.
There are a few questions on the chat. The first one is whether is there any preference regarding submitting a resume versus a CV, which I would think either should be fine, at least is what it says in the portal, right? Either the resume or the CV would be acceptable for the application. And there's another question about whether post-bac programs, who I believe are no longer undergrad, right, or graduated, would be eligible for this program as well. And
I'm sorry,
Sorry.
Marina, were you going to say something?
I would say that is restricted to undergrads, right, who haven't graduated yet and is not being expanded to post-bac at least for this year.
Yeah.
That's a really good question, though.
Yeah, for the resume or CV, I think we are open. So whatever you think is better representing your past experience, and then we will be willing to review any format you want to submit.
Hello, I'm not sure if you can hear me, but this is Kathy, and I'm currently not really in a situation to put my camera on, but I just wanted to ask a brief question. So being at the NIH, it's kind of similar and follow-up question to the post-bac question from earlier. And I was wondering, because post-bacs are still trainees, but they are not really part of a university, they can't really apply for the travel award or this program as well. And I just wanted to see if there's any possibility in the future that you would also expand on the eligibility to postbaccalaureate fellows as well.
They're not eligible for the travel award. I thought the travel award was pretty open. That's
Yeah, we've actually asked about them, whether postbacs can apply for it, and we got the answer that they couldn't apply.
Yeah, I think those are great suggestions, and which we should consider for the next year. And indeed, lots of medical students also reached out, and you know, and we can see it depends on the resources of funding we can secure next year. Yeah, we definitely would like to expand the program to include more categories, more groups.
But I think for this year, we have to be, you know, if we're saying we're only considering undergraduates, because the postbacs already have their degree, they're postgraduates. So we can't just be like, yeah, they're still like in the undergraduate level because they haven't entered grad school. It's kind of a gray zone. I think if we have to stick to our own policy, so to say. So that's something that we can consider for the upcoming years, but for this year, we have to exclude them.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy.
I just wanted to see, Gabriella, I see your question in the chat, but I think that's really outside the scope of what we're talking about today. And so we're not going to address it because this is really focused on the program for undergraduates that we have. But let's see. So maybe one of our former recipients could talk about this, what you put in and what the reviewers are looking for an applicant in the personal statements. So I don't know if either of the scholars want to address that or if one of the committee members wants to start answering that question.
I can talk a little bit about what I put in my application. So I think one thing that I emphasized is my interest in science and why that is, and what I'm gonna pursue in the future because of that. And I also talked about my experience just in hearing research and kind of had talking points on what I was doing in the lab just to show how I have developed in the skills that I've gained as a researcher as well. So I think I'd say interest, what I want to do in my future, and skills that I have. I'd say the three emphases that I did in my application.
I was pretty much similar to Alyssa. I talked a lot about what my goal was and where I wanted to end up in the future in terms of research and auditory neuroscience research. And I talked about the project I was currently working on. And then I just talked about why I wanted to go to the midwinter meeting, like why I thought that would help or build onto that goal that I had. And yeah, those were the main focus of the personal statement.
Thank you both for telling us what you put into your personal statements. I think this is really, really helpful. And I'm not on the reviewing committee, but I have reviewed a lot of other things for ARO or like other committees. And I think what I feel is very helpful for these type of applications is when people tell us about their outreach or like what they do besides research, and if it's something that's more community oriented or like, this is what I do to help everybody else, and it's not just about me and I'm not pulling up the ladder behind me, basically. I feel that if you have something like that, if you can put in something like that into your statement, that is also something that, as a reviewer, we like to see. I don't know if that's helpful.
More like
Also,
from,
yeah,
sorry, did I cut someone?
go ahead.
Sorry. So like more like from a mentor perspective too, when I work with people in my lab about writing these personal statements, we try to really focus on, instead of making like really broad statements, really focus on your experience, what you learned from it, how you're gonna use that for your future. So really like telling your story and your path in a concrete way that when the reviewers are reading, they really can like visualize exactly what you did and how you're going moving forward with that for the future steps in your career.
I agree. I think the point here is, remember, these trainees are, they don't have a lot of experience with writing such statements or documents, and also not much experience doing auditory research also. So I think maybe, start broader, why you're interested in research in general, scientific research, and how did you find auditory or vestibular research so interesting? How did you decide Dr. Kaur's lab or Dr. Kathy Sung's lab or Megan Wood's lab, right? All those things. what was the what were the key reasons of joining that lab? And then if you've already started a project or you've started, like, I don't know, some literature reading, you can talk about that and why those areas or questions are interested to you. What skills you have learned in the lab so far that's going to help towards successfully conducting the experiments related to the project. How going to ARO is going to have, as Danielle mentioned, I think that's a very, very important point. How attending these meetings, whether you're presenting at local or national or international meeting, how these meetings are going to help you towards, broaden your horizon into for auditory and vestibular research, because that is the goal of the program. We want to actually increase the mass of, trainees to do auditory and vestibular neuroscience. So we are basically attracting the trainees, broader neuroscience trainings to do some auditory research. So, how attending ARO or other regional auditory meetings is going to help the trainees to expand on that. Yeah, so I honestly, again, with my very little experience, I did not embellish or help Alyssa with her statement too much. Also, the time was very limited with this first time. So I'm hoping, the subsequent, with the subsequent trainees, I'll be able to, do this kind of mentoring more. But yeah, I have to be very clear and succinct. I think Alyssa made some very important points, just be, what you have to write. It's important. I think Mel also made an important point, but I'm not sure if the reviewing committee did consider that for this first round. So Reza and Karina and Jeff can probably highlight those if they considered any outreach activities in the personal statements of the applicants. Or is that an important criteria for this 2025 ARO Scholar Program? It will be very important.
I think also to the outreach stuff, I think also with the CV, that's something that can capture as well. Like if you're part of any organizations that does that, I think that's a good point to expand on outreach things that you've done. And so maybe just emphasizing that in your resume too. I think something that I've learned for applications is try to use different components to say different things about yourself. So you have opportunities to share the diverse set of skills that you have. And so maybe in your CV, say more about your skills from outreach, and then your personal statement, your skills from research, and so that you can have a fuller picture.
I will highlight another point is that, again, if an undergrad is in their, first or second year, they may not be fully aware about the project and how the project is going to span out. So probably don't use the personal statement to describe the project, but rather, showcase the why you're interested in auditory research and how this training, this research experience for 3 or 4 years in that lab is going to help you, learn those critical, skills to do research for a PhD when you're preparing yourself for a graduate program, right? So those things you want to highlight and not focus on the project that you're actually doing in the lab is what I want to highlight.
I think there's also a question in the chat box. They're asking if it is important to include experience, like a research experience that is outside, I believe, the auditory field. I mean, it's very important to show in your CV, in your statement, that you have done research, that you are able to perform research in the lab, you have some experience in the lab, and you will be continuing build up on like what you have done in the past to bring that into the auditory field. That's really important to include it. And also just as a reviewer, I've mentioned, I've seen in the past. So it's really important that the students include and specify that in their CV, on his or her CV, that she is or he is an undergraduate student, what year of the school she's attending. It's really important for us to know if she's a senior or junior or sophomore. These are something that we would like to see in the CV. Besides that, I believe like the complete application packet, a letter from a mentor that he or she has worked in the past to basically describe her or his skills so that the committee can basically understand what that applicant has done in the past, and the personal statement, and that he or she is historically included basically in the underrepresented group in the STEM, so that also that has the important part in the application. But besides that, I believe everything else is pretty clearly stated in the website. But if there's any other question, you guys are more than welcome to let us know here, or if there's any email, you can also contact ARO if there's any additional question regarding that.
There is a comment from Jeff about identifying a mentor for the summer research, and maybe the committee could, I'm not sure, do the applicants need to have already identified a mentor for the summer portion, or can that be something prior to applying, or can that mentor be identified after if they're successfully awarded?
I can comment a little bit on that. So if you are coming from an auditory lab, for example, that you're already doing research in auditory research or hearing balance in this lab, you could continue in this lab with this award for the summer, or you could identify a different mentor that you'd like to work with, and then you could do research in this different lab with this stipend of 8 weeks, as long as it's a person who is involved in auditory and hearing balance and communication sciences in general. That's a good question about the letter of recommendation. And what I did in the past, when I was a postdoc, I had undergrad that worked with me. So my PI wrote the letter, but I wrote with him. So I had a paragraph there that was written by me about my experience working with him, being the postdoc, the direct mentor. And my PI had another part of the letter that he wrote. So it was kind of a combination, and we both signed the letter. So both the PI and the postdoc had their say in the letter too.
Can I just add something here? I think it's really important for undergraduate applicants to have letters from professors. It is true that your postdoc or graduate student might know you better, but the letter should be from a professor mentor, and that's really important for your ARO scholars application as well as your graduate school applications. Some people don't realize this, but the professor's letter carries a lot more weight, and the professor is going to be, in this case, the one who's associated with ARO and who's responsible ultimately for your research supervision and research experience.
So again, one thing that I did as the 2025 ARO Scholar Program got launched was I actually ended up advertising it at the Rutgers neuroscience community. So just to sort of, address Jeff's question, because it's a very big community, a lot of students are there, and if they're interested in getting, into this auditory research program, they can apply and they can use the websites at Rutgers, or they can go to ARO website and look for members and try to identify mentors. I know the committee is still working on the logistics of that. So we are still thinking on ways on how the undergrads can identify an auditory or vestibular mentor if in case they're not aware of it, or if they've learned about the program in their, first year through the, undergrad program, or other means, right? So I think identifying the mentor is important. So ARO will probably, be working on, helping the trainees with that. But again, if you as a mentor are aware of this program, spread it out. That's the goal. Spread it out your universities, spread out among the neuroscience students, spread out to the counselors of undergrad and directors of undergrad, advisors, so that they can further, advertise about this program to the students, and from there they can think of applying and reach out to mentors and, start the networking there.
Are there any more questions from anyone else? I have to thank the panelists again for joining us today and spending their time talking about their experience with the program. Give folks a minute, but is there anything else anyone else on the committee would like to add at this point?
Yeah, I think one thing I just want to emphasize is that the overall goal of this program is to increase participation, to increase diversity, and also to give people a chance to do this who might not have had a chance otherwise. So if there's something that's particularly challenging about your situation or any kind of limitations you've overcome, the review panel would like to hear about it. We really want to support people who wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity to come to the meeting and to get involved in this research. We really want to support that.
Okay, well, I think then if I don't see any other questions in the chat, we can probably go ahead and wrap up. But I know that I'm assuming if anyone has questions further on that there's a contact information on the application. And I'm sure the committee is very much looking forward to seeing everyone's applications come in, and we're excited to welcome a new class of our ARO scholars.
My contact information is on, I think, every spot that ARO Scholars has talked about. So you can email me directly and I can pass it along to the committee. And to answer the last question in the chat, it is wholly dependent on funding. And we are going to be raising funds until the very last minute. So we're not saying an exact number, but we're going to fund as many people as we can.
Would it be a good idea if the previous awardees can share their personal statements as templates on the website for references for the, newer, if I don't know if Alyssa and Danielle are okay with that. You can hide the stuff.
Yeah, that's fine with me. Yeah, that's
it might be helpful
kind of
for the next batch to, write up their personal statement, especially, these trainees, they are not fully have the skill sets to write personal statements. So it might be helpful for them. So if you're okay with that, you can email it to Kristen, and we can figure out how to
have it from the submissions last year. So I can pull them and I'll redact personal information and run it by you before we do anything with it. How's that sound?
Because I'm seeing
I'll have to look through my files to make sure. But I will send it your way if I find it. All right, that sounds great.
I hope that's helpful to the next batch of applicants. So
great.
Yeah, you can just send it to me when you're
Yeah,
done redacting
I'll
a
take out,
render and yeah.
I don't know what all's in it, but any personal identifiers, and then make sure you're okay with it before we put it on the website.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, perfect. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. We'll have a recording up as soon as possible. If you need to go back and reference this, it'll be on the website and on the YouTube channel.
Good luck.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.